and welcome to Seaside session. On this, it's a hot day today, one of the few we have had this summer. I may even go just hang out in my beaver ponds later now that I've been doing some clearing it out a bit. Yeah, it might help to cool off a bit. And I don't even know what we have for the weather ahead because stopped looking because it's going to be damp, right? So we're going to continue today talking about Mr. Rogers. And first, I will start with a quote from Mr. Rogers himself. He said, "Love isn't a state of perfect caring. It is an active noun, like struggle. To love someone is to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and right now." So this means that love isn't just about feeling good or having nice thoughts about someone. It's about taking action to show that you care. It's about being there for someone and accepting them for who they are, flaws and all. So if we want to love others, we have to be willing to put in a little bit of effort. And ways we can do this is by listening to someone without judgment, being there for someone when they're going through a tough time or helping them in need, being kind to someone, even if they aren't so kind to you, which that can be really hard to do. And if someone does hurt you, giving them forgiveness. So while this isn't always easy, but it's worth it. And when we choose to love others, we help create a world where everyone can feel accepted and valued. Now, interestingly, the way Mr. Rogers has talked about love in this quote very much reflects the thoughts and ideas of our current U.S. Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy. And I have to say, after listening to and reading some of this stuff, and I've listened to some podcasts that I've listened to, I'm incredibly delighted and a little surprised that this very astute and wise man that's not afraid to talk about how compassion is so critical to the health of our nation, that he's our Surgeon General. It's kind of cool. So his name is Vivek Murthy, and if you like podcasts, I suggest you check him out. Pretty interesting. So Murthy talks about healing as an aspect of love. He emphasizes that healing is different from fixing. So you break something, you're sick, you need to heal. You aren't trying to fix something. Healing is about making whole. And to be a healer, you have to be able to listen and be able to learn. And you have to be able to love if you're going to be a healer. These days, the world tells us that to be successful, what do you need to do? Success is all about making money, being powerful, being famous. But we all know people who have these things, or maybe even all three of these things, wealthy, powerful, and famous, and they are incredibly unhappy and don't feel whole. To truly feel whole, it's not about acquiring things. It's about remembering who we are fundamentally at a basic level. It's not about if you have a big house or a small house, brand name clothes or a fancy car. It's about finding those little moments of joy and what could seem like just the ordinary moments of every day. And it's about your relationships with other people. But there's all this stuff right now going around in our world that makes us feel like we aren't whole and that we are not enough as individuals. Especially on social media, but all over. We're told by society and through all sorts of outlets that we're not good looking enough, that we're not smart enough, we aren't popular or wise enough. But are those messages speaking the truth about who you are? Who you are as an individual? Murthy says that maybe healing is about recognizing what we already have inside of us, coming to trust that, coming to rely on that, and ultimately coming to find fulfillment in that, in who we are. So he talks about it as, healing. It's like, okay, recognizing who we are as an individual, even if it's not what everyone else thinks you should be, and being happy with that, happy with that person that you are, and that's the true route to healing. And a big part of healing, this is where love comes in, is the connection we have with other people. The consequences of not being connected to each other are pretty significant. We've evolved as humans to live in connection with one another, and might seem a little counterintuitive in this current age, in this modern society where we value, in this country, we value independence, and we define that as not needing other people and not needing to rely on anyone else, right? That's seen as like, oh, I don't need help, so that makes me a good person. That makes me strong, right? That's sort of the message that's put out there. I can do everything on my own. I don't need help. And I am incredibly guilty of this. When I was used to never ask for help and never would want to ask for help of others, and I'm getting better at it. I am sometimes do ask for help when I need it, but I still gotta have ways to go to work on it some more. So think about that person thousands of years ago when we were hunters and gatherers that tried to do everything on their own, go it alone. That person probably got eaten by a predator or died from an insufficient food supply because everyone was too dependent on each other just for survival. We learned over time that when we build trusted relationships with one another, that we all do better. We live longer, we're safer, and more fulfilled. And today our circumstances are very different from back in the days of the hunter-gatherer time period, but our nervous systems and the way our bodies work hasn't changed. They're very similar to how they were thousands of years ago. So much so that when we're separated from one another, it actually puts our bodies into a state of stress. We know that when people struggle with that sense of a disconnection from one another, and they don't feel like they belong, it actually impairs their ability to function on just a daily basis, whether in school or at work. It can reduce productivity and creativity and engagement. It really affects our bodies. And we kind of assume that dealing with pain is up to each individual, whether physical or emotional pain. But reality tells us something very different. And this is that we are social and communal creatures, and we have to help heal one another's pain, that we have to help support and create circumstances that allow people to heal, and that helps prevent the pain in the first place. And that is love. It's creating that space for people to heal. It's helping others heal. It's our collective responsibility to one another. Murther says that we've got to be a nation that fundamentally recognizes what strength really is. Because our greatest strength of source comes from our fundamental ability to give and receive love. I'm just going to repeat that again because I think it's pretty powerful. He says, we've got to be a nation that fundamentally recognizes what strength really is. Our greatest source of strength comes from our fundamental ability to give and receive love, and that is strength. And to quote him directly again, we have to give people permission and the encouragement to feel love, to cultivate it, to prioritize it, because to me, it is a backbone of good policies, good programs, and a strong society. It is only when people care about and are vested in one another that they advocate together, that they move together in the same direction, recognizing that a solution to someone's problem, even if it's not my problem, is a solution we all need because we are one people. So how do we do this? Well, it starts with the actions we take in our day-to-day lives. And as Mr. Rogers said, love is an active word, right? So how do we choose to treat other people? Is it with anger and frustration when we're annoyed with someone that comes in line in front of us at the store, or for larger things? Is it with respect, or is it with respect and a desire to understand where someone else is coming from, even if their ideas are different than yours and they're getting mad at you because they don't agree with you? It's like, well, listen to what they're saying because they're have those thoughts. They think that way for a reason. Do we choose to speak up for others, even if their ideas aren't entirely the same as ours, but we care about them anyway? So there's so many decisions that we make daily, often without even thinking about it, that can influence how we love the people around us. So maybe we should think about it a little bit more. And to do that, our reflection for this week is I'm going to read you Mr. Rogers' words on love again, and I want you to think about that, what those words mean for you, and what does it mean? How can love be an active word? How can you actively love other people in your life? So he says, love is not a state of perfect caring. It is an active noun, like struggle. To love someone is to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and right now. So I want you to think about people in your life, whether there's people you're close to, or maybe just people you encounter, like your neighbors, like we talked about last week. This sort of ties in a little bit with last week's lesson. And think about how you can actively show love to the people around you. So that is it. I hope you stay cool. And I'm going to be off a little bit next coming weeks, but so I'll see you in a couple weeks.